My favourite episode of Game of Thrones Season 1 is undoubtedly the pilot, which is called Winter is Coming. The final scene guaranteed I was going to come back for the next episode, which had not only incest, war, but a little bit of infanticide, or attempted. And on top of that, you also have puppies, and everyone loves puppies.
My favourite episode from season 1 is Golden Crown, which I think is episode 6. A lot of stuff happens in that episode. You've got Tyrion in the Vale, and he's about to go out the moon door, and then he has to get out of it by the trial by combat, and that's when you meet Bronn for the first time. And I love the sort of the double act of Bronn and Tyrion and how that sort of how that develops over the seasons. And the other big revelation in that episode is Ned discovering the secret of the Lannisters and Joffrey's lineage, which when you think about it isn't really, I mean, having blonde hair, black hair, it's not really the most scientific way of discovering a plot, but I mean, hey, science, what are you going to do?
My favourite episode from Game of Thrones Season 1 is episode 6, A Golden Crown, because Daenerys is far and away my favourite character, so the kind of pivotal moments for her are always kind of what interests me the most. And this one, not only was this a pivotal turning point when her brother Viserys is kind of killed in a spectacularly horrific way by getting molten gold poured on his head. But one, you see this kind of shift in her character, and it's this kind of huge change in the power play. And also just the fact that it made me realise that no one was really safe in Game of Thrones, because I presumed her brother would be kind of a key player going on, but then he's just killed. I was like, all right, anything can happen.
So my favourite episode from Game of Thrones Season 1 is episode 9, Baelor, otherwise known as Ned's Dead, baby, Ned's Dead. And this is the big event, I think, that really hammered home what a kind of surprising and game-changing series it was. This is the one where Ned Stark, Sean Bean's character, is beheaded. You think right up to the last moments it's not going to happen. You think Joffrey's going to give him a reprieve, he's going to get away, but he changes his mind, and then suddenly Ned's head is being lopped off. And I think it became a huge shock to people who hadn't read the books. And I knew what was going to happen. I hadn't read the books, but I overheard in a pub several weeks before someone ruining the biggest surprise. But it still came as a shock, which I think kind of says quite a lot about the impact of that scene.
Okay, so my favourite episode, season 1, has to be, without a doubt, episode 7, You Win or You Die. And it's essentially just for one scene, which is the scene of the series, if you ask me. It's essentially Heat with longer hair. You've got Cersei and Ned sitting down in the garden, and he's revealing to her that he knows about Joffrey's lineage. But like, you think that, you know, Cersei's going to be really sort of shocked by this, barely flinches at the revelation, and so you sort of, and then you see Ned's true sort of colours, because he says to her, you know, he gives her the chance, saying, look, I'm gonna, you know, everyone's gonna find out, I'm gonna reveal this, but he gives her a chance to flee with her children. Like, even though he knows all this horrible stuff that he's done, he's still giving her a chance, and she throws it back in his face, basically. And the episode ends with Robert dying. You know, you find out that Robert's been killed, and on giving his will to Ned, and as he's writing down, like, you know, you see that awesome little bit where he says, and to I bequeath my kingdom to Joffrey, and Ned changes it to rightful heir, sneaky little Ned, and Robert signs it away, and you think, oh, amazing, so, you know, this is going to come back later on, you know, and we're going to have this like really cool reveal, but no, because this is Game of Thrones, so the will just gets ripped up, and the episode ends with Ned, and you've got Littlefinger's knife to his throat saying, I told you shouldn't have trusted me, which, oh man, what an episode.
So my favourite episode in Series 1 is episode 6, The Golden Crown, and not just because a bloke gets gold tipped over his head. In this episode we get to see Tyrion at his most cunning, as he has to sort of figure his way out and fight his way out of the Vale of Arryn. All the odds are against him, he's about to get thrown out of a massive hole, and yet he somehow perseveres. It's a brilliant episode.
My favourite episode of Game of Thrones Season 1 is episode 9, which is Baelor. And the reason I love it is the reason I think everyone loves it, is it's the first time that Game of Thrones pulled a huge shock on us with Ned Stark's beheading. Now, everything about that scene is wonderful. It lasts about 5 minutes. And it's full of twists, turns, huge emotion, and the performances are all astonishing. particularly Maisie Williams as Arya. Her reaction to what's happened to her father is heartbreaking. I just think that it's the first real shock of Game of Thrones. I mean, obviously, at the end of episode 1, it's quite shocking when Bran gets pushed out the window, but he didn't actually die. And this was the first time that you realised that no one is safe in the Game of Thrones universe.